For 300 years, Earth had stayed silent. No signals, no voices, no life. That is what everyone on Ring 7 believed. That is what they were told over and over again by the Council of Rings. Ring 7 was the largest of all the space stations orbiting Earth. It hung like a giant metal ring in the sky, glowing with lights. Inside, life looked normal. People worked. Children studied. Markets sold food grown in artificial farms. But something was missing. Freedom. No one was allowed to speak about Earth. No one was allowed to ask questions. The council said Earth was dead, poisoned by the Black Silence, a mysterious event no one fully explained. The punishment for speaking about it was exile to the coldest parts of the outer rings. Everyone feared that, so they stayed quiet. They obeyed. But Kara Vance did not. Kara was 29 years old. She worked as a signal engineer. Her job was to check communication lines between the rings. Every day, she sat at her small desk in the signal tower, listening to empty frequencies, checking systems, logging reports. It was boring work for most, but not for Kara. She had another reason to sit there. She was listening for Earth. When Kara was a little girl, her parents were part of a research team. They had gone to Earth on a mission when she was just 6 years old. She remembered hugging them before they left. They had promised to come back. They never did. The council said their ship had crashed, that they were lost forever. But Karen never believed that. Now, as she sat in her chair, her dark eyes scanned the old equipment she had secretly rebuilt. She had found hidden wires, broken antennas, and ancient receivers. Slowly, over the years, she had fixed them all. She had taught herself how to reach the forbidden channels. She had listened every night when the others were asleep. And still, there had been nothing. Only silence. Today felt no different. Kara leaned back in her chair and sighed. The same empty hum filled her ears. She looked out the small window beside her. Below her feet, the earth hung like a blue and green marble. Beautiful, quiet, lost. She closed her eyes for a moment, remembering the stories her parents used to tell. They spoke of trees taller than towers, oceans wider than the rings themselves, and skies so clear they made you feel alive. She missed those stories. She missed them. A sharp buzz on her console pulled her back to the present. She sat up fast. Her heart skipped. Another routine check, she told herself. But as she reached for the controls, a voice echoed in her head. A voice from long ago. Her mother's voice. Never stop looking, Kara. The truth is out there. She smiled a little. I'm still looking, Mom, she whispered. The door behind her slid open. Kara jumped and quickly closed the hidden screen. It was Director Solendrax. Tall, cold, dressed in his long black coat. He rarely visited the lower towers. His sudden presence sent a chill through Kara's body. Signal reports, he said without emotion. Kara nodded, keeping her face calm. All clear, Director. No activity. Drax stepped closer. His sharp eyes studied her face like he could see through her. Kara held her breath. Good, he finally said. Keep it that way. Without another word, he turned and left. Kara let out a slow breath, her hands shaking slightly. She knew the risk. If Drax ever found out what she was really doing, it would be over. She looked back at the earth. The silence was heavy tonight, but something deep inside her whispered, not for long. The next 3 nights felt longer than usual. Kara kept working her shifts, sitting in front of the old equipment she had secretly repaired. She tried to keep her mind clear, but Solendrax's visit left a cold feeling in her chest. He had never come down to the lower towers before. Something was different. She could feel it. She knew she had to be careful, but still, she kept listening. Kara checked the council-approved frequencies first, like she always did. Routine reports. Safe communications between rings. All clean. After that, she leaned back in her chair, glancing once more toward the locked door. No one was watching. No cameras. No patrols. Not tonight. She reached under the desk, pulled out a small black switch she had hidden long ago, and turned it on. The old equipment came to life. A soft hum filled the room. The forbidden channels were open again. Karawaitit. Hours passed. Only static. She rubbed her tired eyes and leaned her head back, fighting sleep. Maybe tonight would be silent again. Maybe she had just imagined something was coming. Maybe Drax had scared her more than she thought. And then it happened. A sound. Not static. Not hum. A voice. Clear. Strong. We are alive. Return. Kara Froze. Her heart pounded so hard she could feel it in her throat. She sat up straight, pulling her headphones tighter around her ears. We are alive. Return. The same words repeated again. Clear. Human. Coming from Earth. Kara's hands trembled as she hit the record button. She saved the message to her private storage drive. Her mouth went dry. She had waited so long to hear something, anything, but this was real. She played it back again. The voice was calm but firm. It wasn't automated. It wasn't broken. It was alive. Kara knew what this meant. The council had lied. Earth was not dead. Someone was down there. But what now? What should she do with this? Her mind raced with questions, but fear crept in just as fast. If Drax or the other council officers knew she had this, they would take her away. No one had ever gone against the council and come back. She couldn't keep it to herself. Not this time. But she couldn't shout it to the world either. Not yet. She needed someone she could trust. Kara shut off the hidden system, grabbed her storage drive, and left the tower as quietly as she could. She made her way to the lower housing section. It was dark and quiet, most people already asleep. She walked fast but careful, keeping her head down. Finally, she reached a small door marked Power Control. She knocked twice, paused, then knocked once more. The door slid open just a crack. A face peeked through. It was Joran, her only real friend. He was a power technician, a quiet man with sharp eyes and a calm mind. Kara had known him since they were kids. If anyone could help her, it was him. What are you doing here? Joran whispered, glancing nervously down the hallway. I need to show you something. Please, Kara whispered back. Joran hesitated, but opened the door wider. Kara slipped inside. He locked it behind her. Inside, the room smelled like metal and oil. Old machines hummed softly along the walls. What is it? Joran asked again. Kara held up the storage drive. Her hands were still shaking. I heard something, she said. From Earth. Joran's face went pale. He took a step back. No, don't say that. You know the law. It's real, Kara insisted. I have proof. Joran shook his head, running his hands through his short hair. Kara, you'll get us both arrested. Or worse. She didn't back down. She moved closer, lowered her voice, and said the words that made Joran freeze in place. They said, we are alive. Return. Joran stared at her for a long time. His face showed fear, but also something else, hope. Play it, he whispered. Kara plugged the drive into a small speaker on the wall. The message played again, filling the room with a voice from Earth. Joran's eyes widened. He leaned back against the wall, breathing hard. They lied to us, he whispered. Kara nodded. I knew it. Joran covered his face with both hands. If they find out you have this, they'll come for you. Then help me, Kara said, stepping closer. Help me figure out what to do next. Joran lowered his hands and looked at her, his voice shaking. Kara, if you share this, you could start something we can't stop. Kara looked down at the floor. She already knew that, but she couldn't ignore the truth. Not anymore. She looked back up, her eyes steady. Maybe that's what needs to happen, she said softly. Joran didn't answer right away. He looked toward the door like he expected someone to burst in at any moment. Finally, he nodded. All right, he whispered. I'm with you. Kara felt a weight lift from her chest. She wasn't alone. But deep down, she knew the real danger was only beginning. Kara never felt time move so slowly. Every step, every glance over her shoulder made her heart beat faster. She had played the message for Joran. He believed her. That was a start. But she knew they couldn't stop there. More people had to hear the truth. They couldn't take this risk alone. Joran locked the small power control room again after she left that night. He had warned her to stay away from him in public. Too much attention could draw the wrong eyes. Kara agreed. She went back to work the next day like nothing had happened. But her mind never stopped racing. She thought about who she could trust next. There weren't many. The rings were full of watchers, people loyal to the council, ready to report anyone who asked too many questions. Kara knew that one wrong move could bring the council down on her in an instant. But there was one more person. Maeve. Maeve worked in the lower communication bay. She handled supply reports, cargo logs, and small transport requests. She was smart, quiet, and always listening. Kara had known her for years. They weren't close friends, but Maeve had once told Kara something she never forgot. They control what we see. They control what we hear. One day, someone will break their silence. Kara didn't know if Maeve meant it at the time, but now, those words echoed in her mind like a spark waiting to burn. Late the next shift, Kara walked past the comms bay, looking for Maeve. She spotted her standing alone at her desk, checking shipment data on a screen. Kara waited until the hallway was empty, then approached slowly. "Need help with that report?" Kara asked casually. Maeve glanced up, surprised to see her. Kara leaned closer and whispered, "Meet me by the old vent room after your shift. Please, it's important." Maeve looked around, nodded once, and returned to her work without a word. That night, Kara waited in the dark, abandoned vent room deep under the tower floors. It smelled of rust and dust. No one came here anymore. It was safe, or at least safer than most places. Footsteps echoed softly in the hallway. Maeve appeared in the doorway, her face tense. "What is this about?" she whispered. Kara took a deep breath, then played the message once more. The words filled the empty space between them. "We are alive. Return." Maeve's face froze. She stared at Kara like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Where did you get that?" Maeve asked, her voice shaking. "I found on a dead frequency," Kara whispered back. "I've been listening for years. This is the first real signal." Maeve's hands clenched into fists. She turned and paced the room, breathing hard. "They said Earth was gone," Maeve muttered. They said no one was left." "They lied," Kara replied softly. Maeve stopped and looked at her. "Do you know what this means?" Kara nodded. "It means everything we've been told is a lie." Maeve ran her hands through her short, dark hair. "If the council finds out you have this—" "They won't," Kara cut in quickly. "Not if we move fast. I need help. I need people who will listen. People who will believe." Maeve stood still for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "I know a few," she whispered. "But if they talk even a little—" "Then we're finished," Kara said, finishing the sentence for her. Over the next 2 nights, Maeve brought 2 more people to the old vent room. Talon and Rhea. Both worked in the service tunnels under Ring 7. They were used to hiding in the shadows, used to keeping their mouths shut. But when Kara played the message for them, their eyes lit up with the same shock, the same hope. The group sat on the cold floor, their faces pale in the dim light. No one spoke for a long time. Finally, Talon whispered, "We need to tell everyone." Kara shook her head. "Not yet. If we move too soon, the council will shut us down. We need proof. We need to know who sent the message." "How do we do that?" Rhea asked. Kara thought for a moment. She had an idea, but it was risky. "We need to trace the signal," Kara said. "Find the exact source. If someone is alive down there, we need to know where they are. We need to contact them." Maeve looked unsure. "If you trace that signal, the council will see it too." "I know," Kara replied. "That's why we'll do it from outside the main network." Joran had access to the power lines under the ring. If they rerouted a signal trace through the old systems, they might avoid the council scanners. It was a long shot, but it was the only shot they had. Kara stood and looked at them all. "Are you with me?" she asked. One by one, they nodded. Talon, Rhea, Maeve, and Joran, waiting to do his part. Kara felt the weight on her shoulders grow heavier. But she also felt something else. For the first time in her life, she wasn't alone in this fight. Still, she knew they had to be careful. The council was already watching. The wrong move could end everything before it even started. Kara glanced at the small speaker in her hand, hearing the message again in her mind. "We are alive. Return." She would find them. She had to. The next day, everything felt heavier. The air on Ring 7 seemed colder. People walked faster, spoke softer. Whispers moved through the station like invisible waves. Kara knew why. Someone had talked. She stood at her workstation, eyes locked on the screen, pretending to focus. But all she could think about was the message, the secret meeting, and what would happen if the council found out. Then it started. The sirens. Loud and sharp, they echoed through the halls. Red lights flashed across the ceiling. Kara's heart dropped. All citizens, report to the central hall immediately. A cold voice ordered over the speakers. It was Solandrax. Kara stood slowly. Around her, people looked at each other, confused and scared. No one knew what was happening, but Kara did. She knew this was about the message. She moved with the crowd, forcing herself to stay calm. She caught sight of Joran in the distance. His face was pale, but he gave her a quick nod. Maeve, Talon, and Rhea stood near the far wall. Their eyes searched the room, waiting. The central hall filled with hundreds of people. No one spoke. The fear was thick in the air. Solandrax appeared on the high platform above them. His long black coat swayed as he walked forward. Two armed guards stood behind him. He raised his hand, and the room fell silent. "There are dangerous lies being spread among us," Drax said in his cold, sharp voice. "Lies about Earth. Lies that threaten our safety." Kara felt her stomach twist. He knew. He didn't have names yet, but he knew someone had heard the truth. "We have kept you safe for 300 years, Drax continued. "We have protected you from the poison below. We will not allow rebels to risk our survival." Kara's hands curled into fists. Drax leaned forward slightly, his voice lowering. "Anyone found spreading false hope will be arrested. Anyone hiding them will share their punishment." The crowd stood frozen. No one dared move or speak. Drax turned and left without another word. The guards followed. The sirens stopped, but the fear remained. People began to whisper. Some looked around nervously. Others hurried away without looking back. Kara knew what they were thinking. Who would speak up first? Who would sell out their neighbor to protect themselves? That night, Kara met with the group again. This time, they met deep in the waste tunnels, where no one ever went. The air smelled like rusted metal and old fuel. "We have to stop," Talon whispered. "It's too dangerous now. Drax is watching everything." "No," Kara said firmly. "We're too close." "You heard him," Rhea snapped. "If they catch us." "They won't catch us," Kara said sharply, cutting her off. Joran stepped forward, speaking low. "We have to move fast. We trace the signal now. We don't wait." Kara nodded. "Exactly. We get proof. Real proof. If we show everyone the truth, they'll have to choose, keep living under lies, or face what's really down there." Maeve leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "And if no one chooses to believe?" Kara looked down, thinking for a long moment. "Then I'll go alone," she whispered. The room fell silent. Joran took a step closer. "We're not letting you go alone." They moved quickly. Joran rerouted the old power lines, connecting them to Kara's signal equipment. It was slow work, dangerous work. If the council noticed even the smallest spike in power use, they would be caught. Kara sat at her console again, fingers trembling as she started the trace. Maeve watched the hallway, while Talon and Rhea kept lookout at the service tunnels. The screen flickered, searching. 1 second, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Kara held her breath. Then it locked onto a source. Her screen showed the location, deep in what used to be New Denver, a city on the surface long thought to be empty. Coordinates blinked on the screen. Clear, precise. "We found them," Kara whispered. Joran leaned over her shoulder, eyes wide. "They're alive." Kara stood up fast. "I have to tell the others. Everyone on the ring needs to hear this." "No," Joran said, grabbing her arm. "Drax will shut us down before you can finish one sentence." Kara shook her head. "We can't hide anymore. If people hear this, some will believe. That's all we need." Maeve rushed in from the hallway, her face pale. Security's moving through the lower levels. "They're looking for someone. Probably us." Kara knew it was time. It was now or never. "We take the comms tower," Kara said firmly. "We broadcast the message to every ring." Joran's face twisted in fear. "That's suicide, Kara." "Then we die telling the truth," Kara whispered. The group stood in silence. Kara's words hung heavy in the air. Finally, Maeve nodded. Then Joran, Talon, Rhea, they were all in. Kara felt her throat tighten. She had waited her whole life for this moment. Now it was here. She grabbed the storage drive, looked each of them in the eye, and whispered, "Let's end the silence." They moved toward the comms tower, their steps quiet but sure. Kara knew the council was waiting. She knew the risk. But deep in her heart, she felt something stronger than fear. Hope. The comms tower was locked under high security. Only council staff were allowed inside. Kara and her team had planned for this. They waited for the shift change. That gave them only a few minutes before the next team arrived. They moved fast, slipping through dark service tunnels under the tower. Joran carried a small device he had built to unlock the side door. Kara knew it wouldn't give them much time, but it was all they had. The hallway was empty when they reached the door. Kara's heart pounded as she watched Joran kneel and press the device against the lock. A soft buzz filled the air. After a long second, the door clicked open. They hurried inside. The room smelled like warm metal and burned circuits. Large control panels lined the walls. In the center stood the main broadcast console. It could reach every ring, every station, every person. "This is it," Kara whispered. Maeve and Rhea moved to block the door. Talon stood by the power switch, ready to shut the system down if guard arrived. Joran ran to the console with Kara and started connecting the storage drive. "Hurry," Maeve called over her shoulder. Kara's hand shook as she entered the commands. The console flickered to life. The storage drive loaded. The message was ready. She took a deep breath and pressed the broadcast button. A small green light blinked. The system was live. Kara leaned toward the microphone. "This is Kara Vance," she said, her voice steady but full of emotion. "You've been told that Earth is dead. You've been told there is nothing left below us. But you've been lied to." She paused, glancing at Joran. He nodded once. Kara played the recorded message. The voice from Earth filled the broadcast. "We are alive. Return." Kara leaned back in, her voice louder now. "We traced the signal to New Denver. There are survivors. Earth is not dead. We have proof. The silence is over. You deserve to know the truth." Alarms began to blare. Red lights flashed. The door behind them shook as guards tried to force it open. "We have to go," Maeve yelled. Kara turned to grab the storage drive, but before she could, the door burst open. Guards rushed in. "Get down," one of them shouted. Joran grabbed Kara's arm. "Run." Kara hesitated for just a second. She knew the message had already gone out. Everyone had heard it. There was no stopping it now. She turned and ran with Joran, Maeve, Talon, and Rhea. They raced through the back tunnels, footsteps pounding behind them. Kara's chest burned with fear and excitement. They had done it. The truth was out, but they weren't safe yet. They reached the lower decks, slipping into an old maintenance shaft. Joran sealed the hatch behind them. The group collapsed on the floor, breathing hard. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Kara looked up, smiling for the first time in days. "We did it," she whispered. But Joran's face stayed serious. "Not yet. Kara från. What do you mean?" He looked at her with fear in his eyes. "Drax won't let this stand. He'll lock down the rings. He'll hunt us until we're gone." Maeve nodded. "He'll call us traitors. Rebels. People will be too scared to act." Kara felt her chest tighten. She had hoped the message would spark change right away, but she knew they were right. Fear was stronger than hope for many people. "We have to show them more," Kara whispered. "We have to go to Earth." The room fell silent again. The others stared at her like she had lost her mind. "You can't be serious," Rhea said. "I am," Kara replied. "If we land there, if we prove it with our own eyes, no one can deny it." Joran shook his head. "That's suicide. We don't know what's really down there." "Kara stod slowly." She looked at each of them, her voice firm. "I'm going, with or without you." Joran cursed under his breath, but stood beside her. "Then I'm coming too." Maeve groaned but nodded. "You'll need a pilot." "I'm in." Talon and Rhea hesitated, then joined them. Kara felt tears sting her eyes. She wasn't alone. Not yet. Not ever. "We leave tonight," Kara said, "before Drax locks down the docks." They moved through the lower tunnels, staying hidden. Kara knew they had one chance. One ship. One last shot to prove the truth. As they neared the docking bay, Kara sent one final message across the rings. "The silence is broken. We're going to Earth. Watch for our signal." She closed the channel and slipped into the stolen transport ship with her team. As the engines roared to life, Kara looked back one last time at Ring 7. knowing this might be goodbye. She turned to the window, staring down at the blue and green world waiting below. Her heart was ready. The small transport ship broke free from the docking bay. The metal doors closed behind them with a deep echo. Kara stood at the front window, staring down at Earth. It had never looked so real, so close. Joran sat in the pilot's seat, hands steady on the controls. Maeve checked the ship's systems. Talon and Rhea stayed near the back, loading small supply packs. No one spoke much. The weight of what they were doing pressed down on all of them. Kara watched as the rings slowly faded behind them. Lights from the stations blinked like stars. Somewhere up there, Solandrax was watching. Kara knew he would stop them if he could, but it was too late now. They had slipped through. She leaned over Joran's shoulder, pointing to the map on the screen. New Denver, she whispered. Right there. Joran nodded and adjusted the course. The ship entered the upper edge of Earth's atmosphere. The blue glow surrounded them, soft at first, then brighter. The ship shook gently. Kara held her breath. None of them had ever been this close to Earth. None of them had ever felt the pull of gravity. Smoke and light filled the window as the ship pushed through the atmosphere. Kara grabbed the edge of the control panel. Hold it steady, she whispered. Joran didn't answer. He was focused, hands firm on the controls. The ship rocked hard. Metal groaned. The heat shields glowed red. For a moment, Kara thought they might burn up before they ever touched the ground. But then, the shaking stopped. The light faded. And below them, Kara saw it. Earth. Endless mountains, deep forests, rivers winding like silver threads. It was more beautiful than she had ever imagined. We made it, Maeve whispered. Kara nodded, unable to speak. Joran brought the ship lower, following the map. The ruins of New Denver came into view. Broken towers stood like skeletons. Cracked roads stretched in every direction. But there was no smoke, no fire, no signs of poison. They circled the area twice. Then Kara saw it. A cluster of buildings near the edge of the city. Lights. Moving figures. There, she said quickly. Joran nodded and brought the ship down gently on an open field nearby. Dust and grass blew in every direction. The engines powered down with a soft hum. For a moment, no one moved. The silence was thick. Kara stood, her heart racing. We're here, she whispered. The others stood slowly. Maeve checked her small scanner. Breathable air, she said. It's safe. Kara reached for the door control and pressed it. The hatch opened with a hiss. Warm air rushed in. Fresh air. Real air. Kara stepped out first. The ground felt soft under her boots. The air smelled of earth and water. She looked up at the sky, blue and endless. Tears filled her eyes. This was real. Earth was alive. The others followed, standing close. Then, in the distance, figures started to appear. Men, women, children. They walked slowly toward the ship. Some carried tools. Some held small lights. Their faces showed no fear, only calm. Kara took a step forward. She raised her hands to show she wasn't armed. One of the figures, a tall woman with long dark hair, stepped ahead of the others. She stopped just a few feet from Kara. Her face was lined with age, but her eyes were bright and alive. Kara opened her mouth, but no words came. The woman smiled gently and spoke first. We've been waiting for you. Kara's throat tightened. She felt Joran step beside her, shocked. Maeve, Talon, and Rhea stood frozen behind them. Kara swallowed hard and asked the only question that mattered. Who are you? The woman nodded slowly. We are the ones who stayed. The ones who rebuilt. The ones the council tried to erase. Kara felt her heart twist. Why didn't you call us sooner? She whispered. The woman's face turned sad. We tried, many times, but the council blocked our signals. It told you we were gone. We knew the truth would only reach you when someone was brave enough to listen. Kara felt tears fall down her face. We're here now, she whispered. The woman nodded. Yes, and now the real work begins. Kara turned to her team. They all stood in silent shock, but Kara saw something in their eyes, hope. She turned back to the woman. What do we do next? The woman smiled. Tell them the truth. All of them. Show them what's left of Earth. Show them what's possible. Kara nodded, feeling strength fill her chest. She looked up at the sky one more time, knowing the rings were watching. People up there had heard the message. Now, they needed to see the proof. She raised her small communicator, opened the channel, and spoke clearly. We have landed. Earth is alive. We are not alone. She knew the council would try to stop them again. She knew fear would still hold many back. But now, they had something more powerful than fear. The truth. Kara stood on the ground of Earth, breathing air she had never tasted before. Warm wind touched her face. She listened to the soft sound around her. Birds in the trees, leaves moving in the breeze, water flowing somewhere nearby. She had imagined Earth for years. But the real thing was far more alive than any story her parents had told her. Behind her, Joran, Maeve, Talon, and Rhea stood in silence. They looked around as if their eyes had never seen color before. All their lives they had known metal walls, artificial lights, and dry, recycled air. This was different. This was real. Kara turned to face the group of survivors who had come to meet them. The tall woman stepped forward again. Her name was Ellen. She introduced the others, families, workers, engineers, and teachers. People of all ages. They had lived here for generations, building a hidden life after the council had abandoned them. They grew food, built shelter, and survived through silence. Ellen led Kara and her team through the old city. It was broken but alive. Grass grew through cracked roads. Small farms stretched between fallen buildings. Lights made from solar panels glowed softly on the walls. Why did the council leave you here? Kara asked quietly. Ellen stopped walking and turned to face her. They feared losing control, Ellen said. They used the black silence as an excuse. They took who they could and left the rest of us behind. We were the ones they called lost. But we survived. They lied to keep their power. Kara felt anger rise in her chest, but she knew she couldn't let that be the end. We can bring people back, Kara said. We can bring them home. Ellen nodded. Yes, but it won't be easy. The council will fight to hold on to what they have. Fear keeps them strong. Kara knew it was true. People in the rings had been raised on fear. Fear of Earth. Fear of death. Fear of change. But fear had broken the moment Kara broadcasted the message. Now, people were questioning everything. That night, Kara and her team sent more signals to the rings. They showed live images of the surface, clear skies, green land, people alive and well. They spoke to anyone who would listen. We are alive. You can return. Earth is waiting for you. It didn't take long for the council to respond. Solon Drax himself appeared on the ring's public channels. His face was cold, his voice sharp. Do not believe the lies, Drax warned. Earth is still dangerous. Those you see are traitors. Stay where you are. Obey the council. But something had changed. People had seen the truth with their own eyes. Kara watched the reports come in. Small groups on different rings were breaking free. Some were gathering in secret. Some were demanding answers. Some were preparing ships. Drax tried to stop them. He locked down the docks. He sent guards to crush protests. He shut off public channels. But it was too late. The truth had spread faster than the fear. 3 days later, Kara stood on a hill just outside New Denver. She looked up and saw bright lights moving in the sky. Ships. Small ones at first, then larger ones. More and more. One ship landed in the field nearby. Then another. People stepped out, shielding their eyes from the bright sun. Some dropped to their knees and touched the ground like they couldn't believe it was real. Kara felt tears run down her face. She looked at Joran, who stood beside her, smiling. Maeve, Talon, and Rhea stood close, their faces full of relief. Kara knew this was just the beginning. The council would not give up easily. But they had lost control. The people had seen the truth, and nothing could stop them now. She turned to Ellen, who stood quietly watching the ships land. This is just the start, Kara whispered. Ellen nodded. Yes, but it's the start we've been waiting for. Over the next days, more people came. They carried supplies, tools, seeds for planting. They built shelters, repaired old buildings, and began clearing the land for farming. People worked side by side, those who had stayed on Earth and those who had returned. Kara walked through the busy streets, smiling as she saw children laughing, families reunited, and workers rebuilding what had once been lost. She knew there would be challenges ahead. Earth was damaged, but not dead. It would take years to fully rebuild. But the silence was gone. People were speaking again, working together again, living without fear. Kara stood on the edge of the city that night, looking up at the sky one last time. The rings still floated above, but they no longer seemed so far away. She raised her small communicator and sent one final message across all channels. The silence is over. Earth is alive. The future is ours to build together. She lowered the communicator and smiled.